Hello friends, and welcome to How to Pass the 2022 Level 2 CFA program. My name is Dr. BJ Tolia and I'm the Level 2 professor at Kaplan, Schweser. First of all, I want to congratulate you for passing your Level 1 exam and I want to welcome you to this rather difficult journey of preparing for the Level 2 exam, and hence this presentation. All right, so let's look at what we're going to cover in this short video. First, we'll basically look at briefly the Level 2 curriculum. We're not going to go into details, obviously, but just a breakup of the big topic areas. We'll talk about the exam format, which is going to be different than Level 1. Level 2 is going to be item sets. We'll talk about historical pass rates. Then we'll talk about differences from Level 1 so that you're familiar with it and your approach is going to be different as compared to what you saw at Level 1. Then we'll talk about learning myths and how to prepare for the exam, and finally how we can help in this journey, in this process, as well as we'll summarize the steps involved in your efficient preparation process. All right, let's get started. So there are 17 study sessions in Level 2 curriculum, distributed over 6 volumes of CFA Institute curriculum books. Pretty big amount of quantity of material. As you can see, the topic areas that have, generally speaking, the topic areas with more study session tend to have more exam weight. Obviously, that does not necessarily hold true in every case. For example, portfolio management and alternative investment and derivatives appear to be smaller, but they also are very important. So let's look at the exam topic weight. And again, your job is to allocate your study time to those areas that are heavier in exam weight. So these are what I call as big dogs at Level 2. It used to be only 2, which was financial reporting and analysis and equity valuation. They were the 2 bigger dogs, and then you had a series of other ones that are valuation perspective, and then finally always ethics. Slightly over time, the curriculum has changed, and therefore topic weights have changed. So again, you need to allocate your time more to heavier topic weight areas as compared to the other smaller topic weight areas. All right, so what is the question format? Well, you're going to see a short story, a vignette, that's what it's called, and followed by 6 related questions. And the exam format is now computer based, and therefore you will see the vignette on the left hand side of your screen and the questions themselves on the right hand side. The vignette pane will have its own scrolling bar, so you can basically scroll through the different paragraphs of that short story to identify the relevant information that you need to answer the question that you're looking at on the right hand side pane of your computer screen. Now, your typical exam is going to have 44 questions in session 1 and 44 questions in session 2. And these 44 questions are going to be 10 item sets. So it's basically 8 4-question item set and 2 6-question item set. So you add them up, 8 times 4 is 32, and 2 times 6 is 12. That adds up to 44. And it is approximately 4.5 hours total for the exam. It's slightly less. It's 132 minutes in each session. So it adds up to 264 and not 270. So, that 3 minutes, if it makes a difference in your approach, yes, you should be aware of it. All right. So now the historical pass rates for Level 2 exam is, generally in mid-40s. Now, 2020 was kind of an anomaly because, remember, the June exam was canceled. So 55% appears to be pretty high. But again, a lot of places there were the exam was not actually conducted. So I would not consider that as a representative figure going forward. So it's, expect to see a continuation of mid-40s for the Level 2 pass rates, even in the computer-based testing format. All right, what are the differences in level 2 vis-a-vis what you saw in level 1? The first one, and kind of doing a countdown, right? So number 5 is the topic/study session weightings are variable relative to what you saw at level 1. So it changes. It's not fixed quantity. You don't know exactly how many questions you're going to see in economics, for example. It could be 4 questions or 6 questions or more. All right, the second difference is the exam is now in item set format as compared to level 1, which you had standalone multiple choice. Level 2 is still multiple choice, but the information presented to you is in a vignette format. The big thing here with the item set format is being able to parse through what is called as red herring information. And that is, again, CFA's way, the Institute's way of separating the wheat from the chaff, if you will, separating the prepared candidates from not so well prepared candidates. Given the information, unprepared candidates may feel that they have to use information that is given because they are not well prepared. They are not able to identify that this is irrelevant information to the question at hand. All right. The next difference, number 3, is more integration of different topics. That journey, as you will see, will continue into level 3, where you see almost 60% of the exam on portfolio management, which synthesizes the learning that you are achieving. Number 2 is higher expectation of deep diving or analytical skills. So it is no longer going to be plug and chug. You saw a flavor of analytical skills evaluation at level 1. Here, the journey continues. A lot more questions are going to be more analytical. In fact, you will see a lot of questions are going to be non-computational, yet evaluate those LOS where you're expecting something to be calculated. Very critical thinking, trying to figure out whether you really know the material or you just are good at memorizing. If you're just good at memorizing, you will find this exam a little tough go. All right, number 1, the depth and breadth of the material, both are higher. So you think about, your backyard swimming pool versus going into an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That is what you are kind of venturing into, and you will quickly find that out, that your expectation of being able to, bring together 17 study sessions worth of content in a 1 day, 4.5 hour window is a Herculean task by any standard. All right, so how do you efficiently prepare for the level 2 exam? First of all, the myths are, things like underlining or highlighting, and these are, essentially good study approaches, or cramming for an exam. That's a good study approach. Those are all myths. So what are the ways that it works? So I first tell you that your exam approach has to be a rigorous, well-planned study effort. So well-planned is key. And we have a study planner and an activity feed on our learning management software. So the interface, the web interface that you have, plans out your journey for you. So you're looking at, the CFA Institute thinks an average of 300 hours. That is very suspect in my opinion. Again, average is just that. Somebody said that the river has an average depth of 4 feet, and a 6-foot person, didn't know how to swim, thought it'll be okay, and drowns in that river because the average was misleading. Well, the same issue appears to be a concern for a lot of candidates, that 300 hours is just an underestimate. All right, what are the approaches to go through this preparation process? Learn, read. We have other tools. If you don't like reading, we have videos included. So, and then you practice, and I bolded it for a very precise reason. Practice is a retention tool. Okay, so when you practice what you've learned, in other words, doing quizzing yourself, doing Q-bank questions, these will ensure that the material that you learned stays longer. Keep in mind that journey is a marathon, and you are going to be in that journey for anywhere from 6 to 7, 8 months. And again, you want to make sure that the memory you have used efficiently to store all the relevant key pieces of information that is expected to be regurgitated on the day of the exam. Then you're going to review phase. So you go through an entire one go at the curriculum, and then you want to again review, because you will find that, if you kind of close your eyes and try to reflect back on what you learned, you'll find that you don't remember a whole lot. The review phase, what you'll see is, that information is stored, and it is, pretty much within reach. It just requires a little refresher, and it is surprising how quickly you go through the curriculum the second time in the review phase. And we have a product that I'll talk about that in a little bit. The next step is to assess your learning. So you think you learned, let's find out and take mock exam or practice exams. And when you do that, basically now you are mimicking the exam. You may have just reviewed quant. Well, the exam is not just quant. It is, all the topic areas together, right? So you need to take a practice exam, see whether your understanding, your recollection is indeed as well as you thought it was. And you'll find gaps in learning. You find, basically holes in your boat, and you need to plug those holes. So you fix those. Basically, fixing it is going back, depending on the level. If you're completely confused about, if it appears completely foreign, meaning it is not at all in the shallow memory, then you want to go back and read the relevant module in the Schweser notes, for example. Starting late, not devoting enough time is a recipe for failure. Again, there is a lot of time, effort, money that you're going to be putting in. So do it right, do it once. Don't, try to find shortcuts. It's just not healthy. And it is the probability of success is very low. Focus on the learning outcome statement. Remember, the entire curriculum at all three levels is designed around LOS. Question writers are required to identify the LOSs that they are testing for each question that they write. And so anything that is going to be tested is going to be precisely identified as one of the LOSs. So once you know what is it that they are asking for, you will basically make your learning process efficient. You're not wandering, you're not wasting time. All right. So when it comes to learning and testing, and this is something that is not from CFA necessarily, this is not something that is limited to CFA preparation. It is something that applies to any, learning process or test-taking approach. And this is from psychology of learning. So it is from learning science, not from CFA curriculum or anything very specific to CFA. All right. So what are the moderately effective methods or approaches to learning? One is what is called as elaborative interrogation, and that is essentially asking yourself, thinking out loud, why does something you read make sense? How is this information fit in the bigger picture? So you're looking at a big picture. Your objective is to value equities. How does this piece of knowledge fit in to that bigger picture? How does it help you in becoming a good analyst, in becoming a good valuer of an asset class, for example? Why is this concept true? How does this apply? Why does this apply in one situation and not another? So these are the kind of analytical type questions that you ask while you're learning. This makes your learning journey, the process, less cumbersome, less burdensome, less boring. It makes it more of an enriching experience. You're learning for the sake of learning at this stage. You're learning these things because you want to be in this career path. And so obviously if you want to be in this career path, if you like this business, you like this field, great. Learn it as if you are going to be working in that field or already working. All right, self-explanation, explaining to a friend, repeating it loud. And that basically ensures that any gap in your understanding is addressed by you before you move on to higher level understanding of more complex material. So it is, the process, the reading is going to be structured sequentially. So if you don't know the underlying basic concepts, then when you start working on more difficult concepts, it makes your job a lot more difficult. And I have seen candidates who are, my students who try to do that, and they come back and say, well, I'm looking at this swap, and calculation of fixed rate, but that doesn't make any sense. And well, they have not gone through the journey. They jumped into, the seventh learning outcome without covering, outcomes 1 through 6. So that is a waste of time and makes your life more difficult. All right, other moderately effective method is interleaved learning. So rather than practice with a group of problems on the same thing, you combine them and you make it less, anything that makes it less boring, anything that makes it less burdensome is going to be, absorbed by your brain in a more effective manner. If it becomes boring or burdensome, whether you recognize it or not, your brain is essentially putting a curtain. It is blocking that information from being absorbed. So if you hate something, when in college, for example, you may have hated a specific topic area, a specific chapter, a specific subject, and you know how it goes in trying to prepare for the exam for that subject. All right, highly effective methods. First, distributed practice, and that is exactly what you're talking about, not cramming. Have a plan and allocate chunks of time over this entire journey. Remember, the process of preparing for it is 2 stages. One is the marathon stage and the second is the sprint phase. During the marathon phase, you are basically making systematic steps towards your end goal, but you are not rushing into anything. You are going through everything systematically. So spread your learning over time. Cramming is really bad, especially for this exam. It only has short-term benefits, but over the long term, meaning in this entire journey of 6-7 months, it's not going to work. The test effect quizzing is huge benefit. Studies have shown that people, even if they are given, for example, a general education quiz, what is the capital of this country, and those kind of questions, and you are given 20 questions and you go through those 20 questions, and at the end of the 20 questions, you'll know which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong. And so, you look at the ones you got right, some of them were lucky guesses that you made. You got it right. And then you look at the ones you got wrong. Then you take the quiz all over again, the same quiz. What occurs is the ones that you got wrong, you are more likely to, not repeat the same mistake. In effect, your brain is using a punitive mechanism, a small whip, if you will, to punish you. Not physically, but internally, there is a discomfort that you feel for getting something wrong, and so your pupils are going to be dilated, or you're paying more attention to that question, to that piece of information. Exactly same reason why you want to take quizzes, so that and I hope you make mistakes, and because once you make a mistake, the learning that occurs, the remediation that occurs after making a mistake is very powerful. That is stored in a longer term memory. When you prepare with Kaplan Schweser, the process of the journey we have is called as activity feed, which is basically breaking up your learning process into small bites, individual tasks to accomplish. And given a starting point and an ending point, you break up your journey into manageable tasks. So you learn bite-sized or small segments. We call it modules. So every reading is broken up into one or more modules. Some shorter readings are only one module, but longer readings may have 6-7 modules. So you break it up so as to make it more manageable. You learn chunks of knowledge. Then you are going to stay on schedule and leave plenty of time for review. Remember, that is a critical phase when you're done with your one go at your curriculum, and then the assessment phase, the exam practice and remediation. So we start with Schweser notes, which is basically 100% LOS coverage. It is covered by LOS, so it is addresses that focus on LOS. It is 5 volumes, and everything in the Schweser notes is also part of your digital content when you log into your account at kaplanlearn.com. We have end of module question. Each module you may have a quiz, and that basically is instant. You learn a content and you instantly evaluate whether you understood it and move on. As you're done with the reading, I would recommend that you generate a quiz from your Q bank. In addition to the end of module question, we have topic assessment, which is basically organized by topic area. So for example, when you're done with quantitative methods, which is several readings, and you will have one topic assessment that covers all the reading, covers many of the readings. So you are again reflecting back how much out of the 7 chapters you need to remember. That is the idea. Schweser Pro Q Bank is your quizzing software. And this is again very powerful practice tool where you're choosing to retain knowledge. This is not meant to be an exam simulator. So a lot of people think, hey, I'm getting 75% on the Q bank, and so I must be ready to pass the exam. This is not about like weightlifting and you're able to lift certain level of weight and then you say, okay, I will be able to replicate it on the day of the competition. That is not how this thing works. The Q bank is again a retention tool. It evaluates your learning and then asks you to remedy whatever your learning was not very strong or learning was shallow. So it provides you with the quiz effect and has learning and retention embedded as an outcome of going through the process. Now, the mock exams are exam simulators, which is basically just like the exam in topic weights, as well as the interface, the software is going to mimic your actual exam. So we have 6 full length, depending on the package you choose, to practice and evaluate your deficiencies. We have performance tracker, which basically compares you to thousands of other candidates to see where you're at. If you find a mock exam to be difficult, well, you may find solace in the fact that everybody else also found it difficult. So it is not trying, you get an idea that I don't want to be necessarily demotivated at that stage. It allows you to target your weak areas. That is the whole point of any assessment. Assessment is there to allow you to fix your weaknesses. And so that is what your review is going to do. Repeat as necessary, meaning, take exam 1, fix the holes, take exam 2, you find new holes, fix those, and by the time you're done, you're basically shored up your chances of success very well. The packages that we have, the first one is the bare bones, the essential self-study package. It includes the Schweser notes, has video tutorials on every module, has a quick sheet, which is a formula sheet, has a trifold on both sides. It includes 4 out of the 6 mock exams, and it includes the Q bank as well. So it is a bare bones package. Then we have instructional package, and we have live online weekly class, New York time, London time. We have no firm plans currently to offer in person, but we will see as things change to go back to in-person learning in select cities around the country. We also have a new product developed specifically in the computer-based testing world, or as the paradigm changed, and that is a unique product which is on-demand streaming class. It is essentially a competition to, or replaces, the live online weekly class. The live online weekly class is live, and therefore there is a time limit. Your class is 15 classes times 3 hours each class. So versus on the on-demand, you still have 15 classes, but we don't have that time limit of 3 hours. So it allows for more content to be covered in that on-demand streaming class. In addition to, we also have a lot of end of chapter questions from the CFA Institute curriculum books covered in that streaming class as well. So you have a homework assignment, and then you have a video tutorial to debrief you on that assignment. So you do your stuff, you find what you did wrong, and then you have an instructional video which goes over the same problem that was assigned to you. It also has live problem solving workshops or Q&A sessions, which are spread out, so you have an ability to talk to an instructor, send in questions to get your questions answered. So it adds that live element, which typical regular live class, you have an ability to ask your instructor questions. So you think about, we over a 15-week period, you may have that interaction occurring for a total of 4 or 5 hours, and that is what we are trying to do in these Q&A session. All right. The premium instruction package, what we do is now we packaging the instructional part of it in the package itself. So it gives you a quote-unquote group discount or quote-unquote package discount. So it is essential package plus an on-demand class, on-demand review workshop, and secret sauce. So let me really quickly talk about the on-demand review workshop. This is the review phase. You went through a learning phase, the learning journey, the first go at the curriculum, and then we formalize the review phase with on-demand review workshop, which is basically delivered via 2 books or 2 supplements, 2 books. And so the one book is Mind Map, which is basically a slide book which interconnects all the learning that occurs in different readings. So it gives you a holistic view to bring the learning all together. So it refreshes your memory. And then there is a question book. So the instructor, which is recorded, the video will cover slides from the Mind Map book, and then it will also cover the questions from the question book as well. And the question book is a separate item set only question book used to go through exam strategies, how to tackle item set questions. So it is, 2-in-1 kind of a deal. You review the material, you do actual questions, there is video debrief of those questions, and you learn as to how to approach different types of questions most efficiently so as to not waste your time on the exam day. Finally, the last is the secret sauce, which is a summary, condensed version of the key learning areas that you want to review in the last week before the exam. The Premium Plus package includes everything in the Premium package plus option to upgrade to live online class and upgrade to 5-day review, the exam workshop review package. Now the final review, this is not a separate package. The final review consists of what? Remember, the review is after you go through the curriculum once. You use the review workshops, which we already talked about. We then go into the mock exam, the practice phase, the assessment phase. And not only that, fix it. Use the tutorials to identify your gaps in learning, or use a tutorial to fix the gaps in learning that you have identified. And so let's summarize the steps in the preparation process. So step 1, start early. Remember, that is a key. You had to take the first step. Step 2, read the notes to gain the underlying knowledge. You're absorbing that knowledge in a modular fashion. Step 3, supplement the Schweser notes with videos. And again, these are by module. So you don't have to watch through 100 hours of videos if you don't want to. If you read the Schweser notes, for example, and you find everything is fairly straightforward to understand, then you don't need to go to the video for that content. So it is not check-off list necessarily. It is for those areas that you find a little more intimidating. Alternatively, for those who don't like to read or are not learners by reading, they may benefit from watching these videos, and you can use those videos on a mobile device as well. So you can basically utilize your commute time, for example, by watching videos on individual readings. So then you do quizzing, questions, and again, every module has a module quiz assigned, and so you have questions to it. You do those, obviously, and also you want to do additional practice question from the official curriculum books, the 6 volumes that you get with your registration fee. Most of you are going to get a digital version of it, ebooks. Well, in the ebooks, when you go to at the end of every reading or chapter, you'll see a series of questions, and use those as your practice repository. Those also are available online on the CFA Institute's learning portal for which every candidate will be given access to. So either you go to the books. If you have paper books, then obviously makes it a little easier. But if you have ebooks, or you go through the QBank on the learning portal at the CFA Institute website. Do the QBank quiz, generate quiz, and you can generate as many questions as you want within limits, obviously, depending on the number of questions there are in the bank. But you generate quizzes depending on the time you have to allocate to the quizzing effect. Then we'll go through rinse and repeat. Next study session in the notes. At the end of every topic area, so if you're done with equity evaluation, you want to do a topic assessment, topic quiz, and that will basically evaluate whether you remembered the first out of the 12 readings in that topic area, for example. Then you have the late season review workshop. Attend or watch or plan for a review workshop depending on how you're going to which option you're going to select. Do your assessment phase, take the practice exams. This is the last stage. Remember, learn, review. So this is your review phase, and then this is your assess phase. And assess phase is just that, assessing your weakness, and then addressing is identify and review, fix it. You can use your tutorials to gain richer understanding of the areas that you missed, the questions that you missed. Finally, the last one is before the exam, review the ethics material. Just because you passed very well in ethics in level 1, and even though the content is the same, the standards of practice handbook has not changed for level 2. So even though the content is still the same, you are more likely to have forgotten some of the key nuances of ethics. So that is where more or less a lot of rote memorization occurs, and that is why I push it towards the end of the learning journey. In fact, the CFA Institute has also followed the same logic and basically moved the material on ethics in the last book at the very end of all the topic areas. So given all that, I hope that you are able to follow through a well-structured plan and implement and have a good learning journey. Enjoy the learning process, and obviously I'm biased, and so I'm going to say use Schweser. You'll be glad you did. But I want you to find out from your own colleagues. We have been in this business for more than 30 years. And we know what is expected in this process, what are the pitfalls in this process, and so forth. So, identify from the people you trust and see if that makes sense for you. But we would love to have you in our learning journey and be your partner in your learning journey. All right, full speed ahead.